Hello, are you an aspiring author? If so, you've come to the right place to learn from the experiences of Ruth. I started when I was 70 years old and I've learned a lot and I'm happy to share it. Today I'd like to discuss the question, what next? You see, as an author, and particularly a beginning author, you wonder, are you doing the thing you were supposed to be doing? Are you doing the proper thing for you? Are you doing too much of it? There are lots of questions that go through your head. Now, after a few years, I had written several series. I had started with the Prime Time series. Then I changed my perspective and wrote one called Seafarers. And again, I changed, and this time I tried 7 Days, the series I've talked about. And I was halfway through, I think, the Home Sweet Home series, when it occurred to me that I had done a lot of family saga writing. I was very good with the older woman idea, and I had even got to the point where I could do a fairly convincing male voice. And I told you about the difficulties of writing romance for the first time, so I had managed that different situation. So then came the what next question. And I wondered if I could try something completely different just to see if I could do it. Now, I had tried this kind of thing before quite early on, and somehow it seemed to work, so I wasn't particularly worried about this. I thought though, what if I wrote a shorter series with shorter books? And this time, instead of everything linking up together, as usually in the series would happen, I would try writing about 4 separate young women and investigate what their lives were like. Now, they were all aspiring to something, and that was interesting in itself. But remember, they're all completely separate. So 4 different life stories. And this new series was called Journey of a Lifetime. It began with the story of Aurelie. Now you can see there's a different look to this from my other book covers. And that was what I wanted, something different. Now Aurelie was aspiring to become a high flyer. And she already had achieved quite a lot. She had a beautiful apartment, a condo in Toronto, which was spotless and shining and very, very special and simple. Although Aurelie didn't realize this at the beginning, she was deliberately changing her ways to contrast with her mother, who lived not far away in Toronto, but who was in a house that was completely covered with stuff, littered with all kinds of things she could not seem to throw out. That was only part of Aurelie's problem. She had to go a long way to get to where she wanted to, and along the way she discovered a family history that she had no idea about. This history started in Ireland many years ago, and had a lot to do with the father, who was not very often in Aurelie's life. It turned out to be a good experience, and I thought, well, this is doable. What shall I do next? Next came Nadine. Now, Nadine was different from Aurelie. She started in a dreadful situation as a teenager, and it was a long while before she got to grips with a life that she could love. She thought she would like to be a teacher, but she had no training. She had no degrees. She had nothing behind her. She had left her family because they disagreed with everything to do with her. So she had to climb a long, long ladder to get to the top. And how she does this, with a lot of compromise and not a few small lies along the way, is the interesting story of Nadine. So, 2 done. Maybe 2 to go, we'll see. So another whole different scenario arrives with Mariette. Now I really pushed out the boat this time because Mariette is my first crime story. You could call it a mystery, perhaps. The mystery in Mariette's life was, while she was still a young child, her brother, a little bit older, died in a terrible accident. And this event completely shattered Mariette's family. She was also affected because she was very without focus at the beginning of her life. And it took a long while before she realized that all the different things she had done without really an intention led her to the place where she would be an effective person to solve the mystery of her brother's death. I love this cover. She's standing in a field of lavender in France when a sudden realization comes to her. And if you want to know about that, you'll have to read the book. So, 3 in, 1 to go. Again, a whole other scenario, a different character who does not connect up to the others. Rosalind was very rich. She was in a very rich family, but Rosalind was completely isolated. She had older brothers and sisters, but she had very little connection with them. In fact, she had no friends to speak of, hated school, and could think of nothing nicer to do than to sit in a tree and just think. But this is no way to be going about a life. Rosalind had an undiagnosed mental problem. Her rich parents were really interested in finding out about this. They were getting in her way. So Rosalind had to find people who would understand her problems, who would help her to do more than swim, and yet swimming was a solution to a lot of what happened in Rosalind's life. This book connected up with the Special Olympics, and I really enjoyed writing it. So, a new series, Journey of a Lifetime, 4 different scenarios. I wonder, could I go back into one of those stories and write more? Oh no, don't say that. This is supposed to be something different and separate. So what next can often come up in your life. I like it when I'm challenged. I like to try something and hopefully succeed. And I hope you do too, because I'm learning a lot along the way, and that's how to live. Bye.